Hi, Kara. Thanks so much for sharing. I appreciated your story that you shared about your kindergarten teacher. I know that we all have teachers that were impactful in our lives. I was interested in the goals that you mentioned. You talked about the pedagogy goals and how you at your campus improve performance and you have a district wide strategic plan. And I liked that you recognize and that it sounds like your district recognizes the foundation of kindergarten, even though the district camp strategic plan was 100% graduation, you recognize how important that is as a kindergarten teacher as you're setting that foundation for their love of school, their love of learning. And I thought that was really interesting how you also mentioned you recognize how important it is to be that encourager. And when working with children in poverty, that you may be the only positive role model that's encouraging them and the only person in their life that is encouraging them to be a lifelong learner. So, thank you for sharing that. I also was interested in how you discussed affecting the culture. You mentioned building trust and building enthusiasm because without change, your progress is stifled. And I think that you recognize that's true for the students and for the staff on the campus. And I think that it is very difficult sometimes to build trust. It's not difficult, it's just a process. It takes time. And so that's something I know that I mentioned in my original post that it's something that takes time to do on a campus. And so sometimes it can take up to a year or longer. You said that you've been on your campus for 5 years. And so I think that you've probably had enough time to build that trust, and you have also probably know you trust your peers and you trust your colleagues and your administrators. Um, I like what you mentioned about professional development because you seem to have some people on your campus that even though you've only worked at that one school, you've been working with some teachers who have been under other administrators or with other campuses where professional development was not as positive as it is where you are now. And I liked the idea that your administrators ask for your ideas, especially at the end of the year, wanting to know what professional development you would like to see moving forward. And I'm just curious if that's something that is done like through how do they ask those things? Like when they ask for your input, you mentioned input for your ideas just even on your campus. Is that done through email? Is that done through meetings? Because I know that's something that my administrator is also interested in doing. She's really good about it with meetings, but we all know that not everyone speaks up. There's so many ways we can collect that information from others. I also like how you mentioned the case scenario of Schoharie Elementary School, where the teachers are given input and we know that they have buy-in, and so that can make a big difference in how our ideas and how the changes are received among our campus, especially with building that trust and affecting the culture on that campus. I also really liked your activity that you mentioned for goal setting that your district did, or maybe it was your campus for PLCs, because I think that can really remind us why we are there. And I'm curious what goals you all set on your team or what that looks like. If you are able to share that, I'd love to see that. And I also really like how you mentioned that you all take turns on your team as a leadership role. That's quite impressive because that gives everyone opportunities to lead, everyone opportunities to follow, and I think it just really helps the team collaborate better and it shares the responsibility. I know sometimes campuses tend to rely heavy on certain people because they're the ones that always volunteer or they're the ones that everyone thinks do the best job. But a lot of times when, just like with our students, when we set that bar high, when we have those high expectations, like you mentioned in your classroom, we can all step up and really live up to those expectations. So I'm curious to hear about your ideas and to hear what y'all are doing, especially with the goals that y'all have set and what that looks like for your PLCs. Thanks again for sharing.